I think the thing about focusing on ourselves has a lot of baggage around it. And you're saying that we're not supposed to, in this letter, I don't think we're supposed to just be focused on ourselves at the center of our lives, superficially being the key word there.
Yes.
So let's talk about it, because through the last 40 years of New Age kind of doctrine and such, you need to be at the center of your life. You are the center of your life. Well, we are. It's our experience.
Yeah.
But that's different than being always self-focused.
Correct.
So let's talk about that and see what you really mean by that.
Yes. So in the letter, I was making observations, and a lot of the letters that I wrote were observations. And I came to the conclusion that observation was key to our existence here on Earth. And it's very hard to observe our connection with nature when we're staring at ourselves in the mirror, when we walk into a room and we're worried about how we look. And we are comparing ourselves to other people.
That's called self-consciousness, which isn't really very conscious.
So self-consciousness is a little different, or a lot different, than putting yourself first or putting yourself at the center of your life. And if we look at what does it mean to put yourself at the center of your life, it doesn't mean that you are supposed to do everything for yourself and make yourself the center of attention of your life. We look at your life and that you are the common denominator in everything around you. Mm-hmm. That's what it means to be the center, or the center of your own life, is you are the common denominator. So if I'm here with you right now, for me, the common denominator in my life is me, mm-hmm. and you are you. And I leave this room, my common denominator in that area is me again.
It's still your observations and perceptions of reality.
It's your observations and perceptions of reality. Yeah. So it's when we come back to this letter and we look at it and we say, when people fuss about their hair, they apologize for how they look. So they're apologizing for themselves, and there's no need to ever apologize for who you are. They worry about their clothes, and they become a thing. And more over the last
it's like you're objectifying yourself.
You're objectifying yourself. Mm-hmm. And over the last few decades, we've really had this movement where we need to focus on the self. We need to put ourselves first. And removing our connection with the natural world, we have turned ourselves into things. And we're sadder, and we're not as happy, and our lives aren't as fulfilled, because we're removing the observation of life and making it the observation of me rather than the connection.
Absolutely. And I just think of the culture that, is dominant today, the selfie culture. It's literally called, it's the selfie culture, right? With everybody putting their super little sizzle reel of themselves out on whatever platform they're working with. And the addiction to physicality in terms of appearance mm-hmm. To me, I find it very depressing mm-hmm. when I see people posting all of this and their cute little faces they make and pouty lips and, all this. I find the whole thing so depressing.
Yes. And a lot of that stems from the removal of parenting a child.
Let's just dive in. We're going to talk about it later.
Well.
Let's just get into it, because you're right. And people don't want to hear that.
No, they don't. And it's doing our children and ourselves a disservice when we try to befriend our children while we're raising them. That's not the role of that. When we have our children as our therapists, when we're putting we have our career and we come home and our career remains, more important than the family. And it doesn't matter what your family is made of and mm-hmm. how it looks, but the family is essential and important. Now, when we divide this, what we're doing is the children that are growing up are needing specific parameters. They're needing specific attention, and they're needing specific discipline. And all of that is a symbolization of love. Love is discipline. in a sense, and love is giving parameters, and love is loving unconditionally to your child. When the child feels that they're lacking in that, what are we going to do? We're going to start behaving in ways that draw attention to us. And so we just kind of look over the last few decades that more and more attention are being brought to the self, to us, through
Yes.
selfies, through taking pictures, through doing shocking things to our body, behaving in shocking ways, because that's how we're garnering attention. And that's where we're putting our self-worth, where our self-worth isn't in the mirror. The
Yeah.
self-worth isn't behind the camera.
But you knew
The
this at 7.
self-worth
You could see the
is
dynamic.
who you are.
Yes, it's who you really are, not the reflection in the mirror that you have to keep capturing to see if you're real.
That is false. Yes.
Yes.
Because that's false.
And it's interesting because the way this is being reflected in kind of pop culture terms, the whole thing about parenting, is in films. When I was a little kid, they had shows where they're very patriarchal.
Yes.
The woman was washing dishes with her pearls on. The family was stable, and you had a wise father and usually a wise mother, although never
Yes.
quite as smart and wise. But now, it's gone the other end of the pendulum, where the parents are the idiots. They're superfluous to any deep conversation. They're seen as dysfunctional. The kids are the smart ones. They're the parents' therapists. Over and over, you're seeing the same story being propagated, that the kids are the wise, savvy, smart, responsible ones, and their parents are morons, essentially.
Yeah. And what a shame, disservice that we're doing for our children, because the children need guidance, and they're not to parent the parents, but that's literally what they're doing, is they're parenting the parents.
They're parenting the parents. And so there's some truth in these portrayals in the media, in entertainment right now, which, I find it kind of offensive on one hand if you're a parent that is doing your job, but these shows are made mostly for adults, not for kids, but the kids are the wise ones. So what you're saying is we need to look at that, because there is some truth that the parents aren't showing up and doing their jobs, and they're afraid of their kids. They don't want to take their devices away because they're afraid the kid's going to be mad at them and not like them, and then they have to go on antidepressants and on, the barrage. So how do you see it, if we could take it back to something truly functional, starting at home? Because that's where it's all going to happen.
It always starts at home.
Yeah.
Because that is when we people talk about we want a solid foundation in our life. First of all, there is no such thing as a solid foundation. Foundations always move.
Yeah.
We look just at the tectonic plates of the earth, if we're going to get physical here, those are always moving. So we're never going to have a solid foundation. The one solid foundation you have is you, that common denominator. That's the only place that solid foundation is.